Are you on the WordPress platform and are you trying to extract form field data that users submit and pass that over into a variable in Google Tag Manager so that you can later pass over to the marketing platform of choice? Then in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to do just that. So for this tutorial, the form builder I'm using with WordPress is called SureForms. You don't need SureForms in order to implement this. You also don't need to know how to write JavaScript, as I'm going to provide you the code that you will need in order to extract the form field data from your form. So let's start by going to Google Tag Manager. Let's go to variables. So you will hit new user defined variable, hit variable configurations, and you get several options here. The one we are looking for is custom JavaScript. And for custom JavaScript, we are going to use the query selector script, which would be this. We would copy that, which again, I'm providing you this code in the description of this video. And if you are not using SureForms, the only thing you will have to change is going to be in here. This is going to change depending on how your form is set up, which I'm going to walk you through how to extract this data within your form builder so that you can just insert it here and then this tutorial will work for you. Let's go to our form. Let's right click it. I'm on a Chrome browser. Let's hit inspect. We're going to hit inspect element. We're going to go to the field I want to collect. In this case, I first want to collect first name. So then I click it and it's going to highlight the code for me. So there's two ways to extract the information. It's by this name field and extracting the data from here, or by this ID field. Because my ID field, if I copy this data and paste it into my document, and then I go back and collect the name data and paste that into my document, I can see that both of these contain a similar structure. SureForm input C, A, B, E, etc. The only thing that differs in this name is this field called first name, which is actually the value we want to extract. So when picking what JavaScript to use, you have two options, which is the name and you have the ID. Because we can find a unique identifier to look for in our JavaScript code, we're going to look for name. And so one thing to note with name and your selector is that you can pick from a variety of formats to extract that data. You can do an asterisk and then it would basically match any element that contains, in this example, first name. So instead of short form email, say it's my first name, or my first name field, or form my first name input. The other option is to use this symbol, and that will basically match anything that contained, in this example, SureForm email. In our example where we're trying to extract that data, it would actually extract SureForm input. The only problem with using SureForm input, and yours is going to be a little bit different, because if you're not using SureForms, each form is going to name their IDs and names a little bit different, would be that all the fields that are single fields are going to have the exact same thing. So you're going to extract that same information and just going to kind of override each other, which you don't want. And then lastly, there's the $sign, and that will match with whatever field it ends with. So in this case, that's what we want to extract, because our field under name ends with first name. So because of that, you can see here again, my name is first name here. So this is already right. We are looking to extract anything that ends with first name. And so now we're just gonna name our variable, and we're gonna say custom JS, and then name field. I also like to say what form it is in case I'm using multiple forms. I don't know why you would, but for this example, we're just going to name it, since I do a lot of tutorials on these. And we're just going to name it SureForms. So now when I submit my form, it's going to automatically extract whatever was submitted for first name. Now we're going to replicate the exact same thing, but now we're going to collect last name. So in this case, if we go to the last name section, it'll highlight the code. Again, we're going to extract name, and then in this case, it's SureForm inputs, and then it ends with last name. So we're going to grab our code from here. We're going to click new, variable configuration, custom JavaScript, paste it there. Remember, this means ends with, and remember our code ends with last name. If ended with, first name, last name, email, phone, etc., then that's actually the code we would put here: first name, email, etc. And so that's something that you need to keep in mind, because not all forms are going to be like this, but just know that that's the information you want to extract. So again, we're going to name it custom JS, and then we're going to do last name, and then SureForms. Now, this one is actually easier to extract, because usually your email and phone fields are pretty standard across all forms. And this is actually the data that you want, because this is the data you can pass back to all these ad systems. So in this case, let's inspect element, inspect my email. In this case, you can see both my name and ID start with SureForm email. So this is actually what we are going to look for. We want where name or ID starts with SureForm email, and we actually don't really care for 3FCA unless you are only trying to extract the email from one form. If that's the case, then yeah, you would use this whole string. But because we want to extract any form that contains this start is SureForm email, in your case, it could be something else. We want to make it more universal. So we have our code for this. And in this case, we are going to use ID, which is this one. I could also use name, but I prefer to use ID. And we're going to build a new custom JavaScript, similar to what we did in the past. In this case, remember this little icon here? That means to match names that start with, because again, our ID here starts with SureForm email, then it's going to be SureForm email. Now we are going to save this again. And we're going to say email and then what platform I'm using. Save it. And then the last thing we're going to collect is going to be phone number. So in this case, again, now my name and ID, they both start with SurePhone. As you can see here, SurePhone. We can ignore this. Remember what you're looking for within your form values is going to be something that's unique and identifiable that you can extract and is universal, so that you only have to build this code once and then it'll work across your website for as many forms as you have. If you have 50 forms, it'll still extract that data for you. So I have that code here. And again, I'll leave this code in the description of the video so you can just copy it. Again, this means starts with. So again, SureForm email, just as a reminder. Well, sorry, phone. So in this case, SureForm phone. So instead of email, we actually want to change from email to phone, which again, this is exactly what you're going to change. So mostly remember, the only values you should be changing from this code is what I just highlighted. So again, I'm going to name it, and you can name it whatever you want. It's just, I like to name things that will help me remember, especially if I keep adding more and more. Sure, trigger, because that's the forms I'm using. Now I save that. So now when I submit a form, it should automatically collect my phone number, my last name, my email, and my first name. Now the last variable we want to build out is going to be the user provided data variable. And this is useful because this is the variables you're going to pass over to Google Ads, Google Analytics, Facebook when a user submits their data. That way these systems can do a better match back and know who your customer is and get you better customers in return. So email, all you have to do, hit that drop down and look for email. And then for phone, we're going to look for the phone trigger. You could also pass first name, street, all that. Reality, you don't need that to do these matchbacks. Usually you just do email and phone. And then I just call it the same thing, user provided data. And then I like to say what I'm collecting. In this case, I'm going to collect email underscore phone. And you can name this whatever you want, and you don't actually need underscores or anything like that. That's just my taxonomy. The last step that you need to build out will be a tag. So if you wanted to pass this over into a success when somebody submits the form, I would say include user provided data from your website. And then here's the one I just built, which is user provided data, email, and phone. This way, when somebody submits a form as an event in Google Analytics, it'll pass over their user data. If you don't know how to create an event in Google Analytics, I do have another video within my YouTube library that will help you with that. Hit save. And now we are going to test this. So we're going to hit preview. We're going to connect to our website. We're going to scroll down to our form. And we're going to say Victor H, my email, and then phone number. It's a fake phone number, so don't call it. Request a quote. And now it says, thank you, Victor. If I go into Google Analytics, I can look into my variables. And then I can see where my form was submitted. And here's my data. So custom JavaScript email short forms. It collects Victor at smallbusinessesmarketing.com. Collected my last name, H. It collected my first name, Victor, and then the fake phone number. And now this data is stored there. So anytime somebody submits a form, you can collect that data, and it's being pushed over into Google Analytics, as you can see here. Google Analytics event, it's exceeded. And then my user provided data that I'm sending over to Google Analytics for matchback, and then my event name. So when I look into Google Analytics, it'll say short form submissions, but I know now my matchback is much better. If you run into any issues when trying to implement this, please leave them in the comments below and I'll try my best to help you out. Also, if you do want me to create another tutorial, possibly using a different WordPress form system, extracting the field data from there, leave that in the comments as well, and I'll try my best to make a tutorial for you.